Everybody, it's Pikel with the Infinity Edge. For those of you who have ever played can you spot the differences? You're in for a treat today, and it will become more apparent as time goes on. But that's all I got to say about that. Forrest Gump style. Life is like a box of chocolates. Um, League of Legends, Europe, LEC, LCS, which is not Europe. Got some. Did we have more roster changes besides the Demonte one, or that's only the only one that's happened, right?
That's the only one of was recent, yeah.
Yeah. So there's been a lot more Pobelter on Cyan's Instagram recently, which is kind of upsetting. Unlucky Bud Light Ace there for Pobelter. But we're back with another free Thursday episode. Wink. So I think it's about time we just get into it. I think I've laid out enough Easter eggs for the people.
Yeah, we can jump right into it with the LEC. We have Schalke 04, 3-10 versus XL 4-9. Two bottom tier teams. I know a lot of people in the esports department Discord are shocked that Schalke is actually favored in this one. But Alan, we'll start with you. Are XL as bad as you think to be actually not the favorite in this?
No, I mean, it's honestly bizarre to me, the betting line on this game. I cannot understand it for the life of me. I mean, I think that, Excel minus 140 is pretty reasonable, but, the fact that Schalke is a favorite, and, honestly, it's not that far off from Excel minus 140, but the fact that Schalke is a favorite is just something I can't understand at all. If I were gonna play this game in DFS, I think I would obviously play the Excel side. I don't like Schalke at all. I think that they are the worst team in the LEC. They have a really bad GSPD, and Excel actually has a pretty decent one these days after changing up the lineup with Markun and Advian. So if I were going to play a side, it would be the Excel side. I don't think I would get very heavy into this game. It feels like a game that Excel probably takes pretty slow because they have to win and they're going to get into playoffs. And Schalke generally just kind of is okay with that kind of style of game. And so it kind of reads as a slow game to me. But I would definitely play some Excel just because I think they're going to win. And I think that the ownership on this game is probably pretty low. Now, the ownership on Schalke is probably near nothing, and maybe that's a good enough reason to play them because they probably are 40%-ish to win the game. But I can't get in the business of playing Schalke 04.
All right, moving on to you, Michael, on this one. Schalke 04, 3-10 versus XL 4-9. What will you be doing with this matchup DFS-wise?
So I agree that the money line seems weird, and that XL should probably be listed as the favorite. So the fact that their salaries are going to be lower than what they should be, it's probably going to increase their ownership a lot on DraftKings, because you can fit them with all the favorites, and there are a lot of good favorites on this slate. So if I just go lane by lane, I think Broken Blade is better than Cries. I think that Kire and Markun are not that. There's not that much of a difference. People have a much higher opinion of Markun right now because they've seen better stuff from him recently, but I don't think either one's really a long-term difference maker as a jungler in the league. Nuclear Int has to be better than Nuke Duck because Nuke Duck is trash. Neon and Patrick, I think that Patrick is better. But it's tough. It's tough to say long term which one will be better. And then I think Limit is better than Advienne probably. You have to remember he had an insane playoffs last split. So they have these very high highs that they're capable of reaching. Obviously, they lost Abadage. They don't have Gilius, so it is a fundamentally different team. But I think the fact that they probably shouldn't be a favorite, and their salaries are higher than people want to pay, I think it's a great spot for Schalke. I think that XL is a team that could be a good source of fantasy goodness for Schalke. So I think that the right side is Schalke. I don't know if I can ultimately get to throw them into my teams, but there is a 4-3 stack if you use G2 as your primary stack. G2 is the most expensive team on the slate. You could do a 4-3 with the jungle captain. You can do a couple different 3-4s with ADC, and mid. So there are at least 4 lineups that I think are very good for DraftKings purposes, where you can get Schalke with a team like G2. With XL, you can basically stack them with anyone, so that's going to also increase their ownership. So I think if you're playing a very large GPP, I think XL is going to be the higher owned team.
Yeah.
And I'll probably want to fade them. So I think that's a spot that I'm going to stay away from tomorrow. And if I get anything from this game, it would be Schalke. And if it's a Schalke stack, it's going to be hopefully one of those types of lineups where it seems like it shouldn't fit, but it does. Like even with Mad Lions. With Mad Lions, there's 3 of them. And then once you get down to Misfits, you can kind of play anything. So if I was just going to run it out, the G2 and the Mad Lions ones, and that's 1, 2. Wait, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 good lineups. Like if I was just going to play 7 lineups tomorrow, I could easily see myself playing those 7 as my only exposure. And you'd have a bunch of shots at first place, I think. Solo first place.
I think that's sharp. It's like basically what the calculation I was doing in my mind this morning when I was looking over this game. Like it's clear that Schalke is going to be ridiculously underowned tomorrow for their winning chances, but it just feels so gross to click on their names.
Yeah.
Just click on it, hit submit, and then go do something else when this game's on.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to our second game of the slate, we have Vitality 5-8 versus our Misfits boys 9-4. I'm hoping this is the easy game for Misfits, but maybe Vitality has something in their back pocket. Michael, break this one down for us.
Sure. So Misfits last week had a relatively not an easy win over XL, and then they had a easy victory over Schalke, and then G2 beat Vitality, and Vitality also lost to Mad Lions. So right now, Vitality's probably in a bad spot for public perception, but they're not as bad as a 0-2 week against those types of teams. I do think that Vitality is going to put a lot of pressure on Astralis specifically and XL for that last playoff spot. So let's just go lane by lane. Pirate against Shigenda. Pirate has had a better season. I'm not convinced that there's a big difference between the two players long term. Razork and Selfmade. I think Selfmade's a better player than Razork. Razork's had a better season because his team has won more. Vetio against Leader. Did they bring back Milica? What's that about? Why is he in the player pool? Has he been in the?
He probably just sits in the player pool. Would be my guess, but
I feel like I haven't seen that. And then so I think Vetio and Leader. I think that Vetio is probably the better player long term, and I like his champion pool more. Leader is more of like the assassin style player. Kabe and Vander against Crownshot and Labrov. Very similar, so I don't think there's a huge edge either way on that one. This is going to be a game that is going to be very probably tilting to watch for DraftKings purposes. I think that you could easily get a very low kill game out of these two squads, depending on draft. Does this seem like a match where you guys are more convinced it's going to be a high scoring game or a low scoring game? Because I think both sides of this are going to be played by people tomorrow.
Yeah. I think there's a huge range of outcomes on the kill side for this one for me, because Misfits is like a team that could just get into bloody games whenever it seems like kind of their MO, but like Vitality is the exact opposite. So I would go with a slower game too, I think.
Yeah. So if Vitality wins, does Misfits see? That's the thing. If Vitality gets an early game lead, I don't think Misfits is gonna try to force a ton of team fights or anything like that. So this is a spot where I might just try to fade it. I don't know if I can play these teams in this matchup. Do you think that this decreases people's confidence in Misfits' ability to win? Because they're only minus 140. That's actually surprising. Do you think that they're going to be over or under 12%.
Probably close, but under would be my guess. Just because I do think that like I'm with you. I think that Vitality is going to be a lot better towards the end of the season, and I'm like looking for spots that I can get into them. But I don't think that this is it. Like I'm pretty sure that people are going to play Vitality at exactly the same amount that they play Misfits tomorrow. Would be my guess, which is right around like 8 to 10%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically it. I think that, you know, I like Misfits as a team, but I also like Vitality. I think that they're both solid teams. It's just Vitality's had a lot of trouble this split
Yeah.
in individual games. Like, I don't think it's indicative of like low talent level of the team. I think it's just a lot of bad breaks.
Yeah, I just wish that Vitality, you could just erase the names Crown Shot and Selfmade off of this team, and then I would love to pick them up because like their GSPD is really good. They have a terrible record. They just went 0-2 against really good teams. It feels like the kind of spot that you get a huge ownership discount on, and I just don't think it's going to happen. Like, I think that people believe in this Vitality team, and so it's just going to be, their typical, like, 10%-ish, and that feels about right to me. I personally would just probably fade this game altogether and root for my boys.
Yeah, I assume thoughts on Vitality are been down a bit since in their last 4 they're 1-3. Those losses have come from Fnatic, G2, and Mad Lions, like you had said.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And their one win has been against SK, which almost everyone beats SK. So.
Mm-hmm.
Almost.
Yeah, because they have Misfits, XL, Rogue, Schalke, Astralis. So I think they're likely to go 3-2 the rest of the way. If they go 3-2, is that enough to get in the playoffs? That's the question.
Yeah, this feels like a scared game, scared playoff game.
Both teams just trying to not make mistakes, I guess.
Yeah, although Misfits, it's pretty
Misfits
safe.
is locked in, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but
they are not technically locked.
They need to win 1 out of the next 5 games.
Yeah,
and they do have a hard schedule at the end. I remember.
Yeah, they should be fine.
They'll be fine. All right, moving on to our third game of the slate, we have Mad Lions 8-5 versus Astralis 5-8. Alan, we'll start with you on this one. Do the Mad Lions just feast here on Astralis's hopes and dreams of making playoffs?
Yes, yeah, I think so. Astralis is a really good team to be against in DFS. I think that there's going to be interesting combinations that you can make with Mad Lions and Schalke, like we talked about before. There's probably some good like 4-2-1s you could do with Mad Lions and Fnatic, maybe Mad Lions and G2, and throw in whatever third team you think you can fit in there, like from the Vitality Misfits game. I do think that it's reasonable to also play a little bit of Astralis. Mad Lions is a team that we've seen lose from winning positions over and over and over again in their history. It doesn't change that they're a really good team, but it just is one of the things that they do in regular season games. So if you were like, I'm going to play 9 Mad Lions lineups and 2 Astralis lineups or something like that, I think that makes total sense. Because if Mad Lions loses the game, it's always the winning team essentially. And if you play Astralis, I mean, you can open up whatever you want. Like, if you want to play Astralis and G2, you can. If you want to play Astralis and Fnatic, you can. Astralis Rogue, you can. Whatever you want to do. And so I think that there's a non-zero chance that Astralis wins this game just off of a Mad Lions throw, and that's a situation where you're looking at a pretty good GPP play. So I think playing both sides makes sense, but Mad Lions obviously at a much higher rate.
Move on over to you, Michael. Mad Lions versus Astralis. What are you doing for this matchup, and will you consider Astralis given that Mad Lion games are bloody when they lose?
Sure. So I muted myself because there's a lawnmower situation outside. Or maybe it's a leaf blower. I don't know. One of those is happening outside,
How are there
and it's a concerning
that
noise.
many leaves?
Yeah, I know. I said it, and then I kind of thought what you just said. But,
Yeah.
I wasn't going to bring attention to it. But thank you for embarrassing me in front of everyone.
You're welcome.
I think that I would fade Astralis tomorrow completely. I like Mad Lions going up against them. This is one of the games where, you know, whether or not it's the truth statistically, I think that everyone's kind of convinced that the nine win mark is the one that's going to get you into playoffs no matter what. So Mad Lions is looking at this as one of their best opportunities to get that last win, so they can kind of like take their foot off the gas for the rest of the season. So I hope they just get it done with tomorrow, and then they'll probably end up trolling some of their later games and just have like actually, that's a good thing that we should probably talk about. At what point do teams and DFS slates just become unplayable because it's like complete insanity from these teams that just don't care and are willing to just have ridiculous games? Like, I don't like the idea of Mad Lions having clinched a playoff spot and then they lose like 35-13 because they just fought everything that they could.
Yeah, I think that doesn't happen until next week for anyone, really, because there's nothing that's like that locked yet.
Yeah, well, I think two teams are locked in.
Yeah,
I think Misfits can probably lock in. I guess Mad Lions can't.
like seeding wise, there's
Sure.
a lot still. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would play Mad Lions pretty aggressively. I think that there are some good combinations of them. I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to convince themselves to play Astralis. What do you think their ownership ends up at? 10% ish? Do you think it's going to get that high?
Oh no, I think it's
Lower than that.
Yeah, much lower. Like 5.
But you think it should be at 10%?
I think playing it at 10% is an interesting strategy for sure. I don't know, like should is kind of a weird word, right? Because like if you do the like math on a money line and all that stuff, but I think that like if you're like, hey, I want to play Astralis 10% this week because I haven't played much Astralis, and this is one where I feel like I could win a tournament with it, then I think that's great.
So if you're doing it out of complete random chance, right? So plus 250, so you're probably somewhere around the high 20s or like 30%. So let's just say 30% divided by 5 is 6. So that's like if they won and a random winner was a highest scoring team, they should be owned at 6%. As a primary stack probably. So what do you? So as a primary stack, 6%. Seems pretty interesting to me. I could see myself getting to 10% because, like you said, against Mad Lions, it's a better matchup. You should expect them in the situations that they do win. It's going to be a higher percentage of the time that they are the top stack. So closer to 10%. So without thinking about it from like the 30% divided by 5 situation, what percentage of the time that Astralis wins do you think that they're one of the two top stacks on the slate? Do you think it's over 50%?
Yeah, 60.
Yep.
Maybe more.
Yeah. Okay. So then you're making the case that their primary stack ownership should be over 6%, I think.
Yeah.
And if you think that it's not going to be like that in the field, then you could get a good leverage spot there by doubling it to like 12%, 10 to 12%.
I assume if one of the dogs in this match or the next match we're about to talk about wins, they should be the top stack of the day, just given the track record of the teams.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting conversation for a different day, I guess. Like, when you're playing underdogs, does it make sense to have them as your secondary stack or your primary stack? I guess it's probably better to have them as your primary stack to be more different. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's how most people play it, but like that doesn't mean that it's not optimal.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on to our fourth game of the slate for Friday. We have SK 4-9 versus G2 7-6. A game that should be fairly easy for G2 to win, if we're remembering G2 of the old. But maybe SK find a way to exploit some of G2's weaknesses here. But Michael, we'll start with you. What are you doing with this matchup, and will you be playing SK tomorrow?
Nope, just play G2. That's it. That's it.
Moving on to you, Alan. SK versus G2. Will you have a different opinion than Michael on this one?
Michael said just play SK?
That's not what he said.
Yeah, just play G2. It's possible that G2 doesn't do a high kill sort of look here, but it's also possible that they do. So just play G2. G2 Astralis looks good. G2 Fnatic, like the gross stuff, looks like it could win tomorrow.
It's gonna be way too popular, probably.
Yeah, but it could also win.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like, I'm not sure.
Over the field on G2, I guess, is the way to go. It.
Yeah, I probably would be under the field on G2 in this game. I would guess that they play a slower game because they actually do kind of need wins, but it's, it's a total crapshoot with them.
All right, moving on to our fifth and final game for Friday. A battle for first place. Both of these teams are locked into playoffs here. We have Rogue at 10-3 versus Fnatic 10-3. Alan, we'll start with you on this one. Rogue versus Fnatic. Who are you picking, and will you be using this for DFS?
Yes, definitely. I think that if you got to pick a side here in this game. Personally, I think. But for me, it's definitely Fnatic. I've ridden with Fnatic for a while now. I've said that I think they're the best team in the league. I like that it's a little bit looser of a spot because they are locked into playoffs, so it's really just for first place. Fnatic is never ever going to play a slow game, I don't think. So unless Hillsong is no longer on the roster or Bwipo's no longer on the roster, but I think pretty much forever they're the DFS team. I think that Rogue also makes sense if you think that they're gonna win. I'm sure that Rogue can sort of match that style with Fnatic, but I just really like this Fnatic team. I want to be with them. I think that the stacks that you can get with them are a little bit better than the stacks you could get with Rogue, and so yeah, I'm all in on Fnatic here. I think that I would play probably like 60% of my lineups with Fnatic players in them. I haven't started like fully building out to see what you can really get with them, but I'm looking for all the unique stuff I can, like 4 Fnatic, 2 Mad Lions, 1 Excel or Schalke or something like that. Sounds good. Something from similar construction with 1 from the Vitality Misfits. That kind of stuff is where I'll especially look.
Moving on to you, Michael, for our final game of the day. We have Rogue versus Fnatic. What will you be doing with this matchup DFS-wise? And do you lean a certain way on the winner?
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I like Rogue more. I think that they're the better team overall. I know that it's like a great spot for Rogue. Who they play the other day where I said the same thing? Was that their Misfits matchup or Mad Lions? It was Mad Lions matchup, right?
A great spot for Rogue. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, let me look real quick because I think it's the exact same thing. I think that Rogue is probably just classier than
Rogue played Astralis and G2 last week.
So Rogue beat Misfits. Yeah, so it was Rogue against Misfits. Everybody was on the Misfits side. It was drafted like 40% or something, like the Misfits players, and Rogue just beat them easily. And then the next day I was like, it's the exact opposite. It's a good spot. It's a good spot for G2 because everybody will be like, oh man, Rogue just beat the shit out of Misfits, and I had Misfits 40% owned. Like I have to play Rogue now, and then they lost to G2. So I think it's back to being a great spot for Rogue. I think that if you go lane by lane, there are some really good combinations with G2 as well. So you would probably want to look for Rogue plus. I think that Rogue plus G2 and Rogue plus Mad Lions will be lower owned combinations and just like the better lineups. So that's what I would want to go after. Like the Fnatic ones, if Fnatic wins, you're going to be competing with like 1,000 people. Like maybe literally 1,000 people with Fnatic lineups because of like them being just a very popular DraftKings team in general. So I think those are all good reasons to play more Rogue than Fnatic. If you truly believe Fnatic is better than Rogue somehow, then like sure, that's fine. Like then you have to play that side. But like Alan said, pick your side and make your lineups accordingly. So the lane by lane, Odoamne against Adam. Adam has shown a lot of good stuff this split. I still think that Odoamne is probably better right now. Adam's more of a carry style player, so if it's like a huge pop off performance, maybe it's more likely that it happens with Adam. But it could also be a spot where they try to bait a Renekton pick. They give him the Renekton. Odoamne has a counter to Renekton, and then Rogue just wins that pretty easily. Inspired against Bwipo. I'm a big fan of Bwipo. I think that he's been pretty incredible, which is not surprising because he's always been a pretty incredible player. Inspired's also very good. I don't think there's a huge edge either way there. Larson's much better than Niski. Hansama and Trimby, I think, are better than Upset and Hillsong. I'm not the biggest Trimby fan in the world. I haven't seen enough to be like, oh wow, this guy's like the best support in Europe. But I think Hansama's probably my favorite AD carry, and this meta is like incredible for him. So if you're Fnatic, you probably have to spend a lot of bans on Hansama, and even in that situation, you're still not in a good spot in the draft because he can play anything. So like, you'd have to get rid of Draven. You probably want to get rid of Kalista. You probably want to not give him Ziggs either. I wouldn't put him on Ziggs. Like, I don't think that he should be playing Ziggs. But I think that Fnatic's going to have to try to do something like that. Maybe that's a good way to bait them into hurting themselves, is by letting them take the Ziggs, putting it on Hansama, and it takes away a lot of his playmaking ability. So for me, it's Rogue, for sure.
You can do some crazy stuff with the Fnatic salaries tomorrow.
Exactly.
I'm just looking at, Jungle Captain is wide open for both G2 and Mad Lions, and that was just the starting place. So I'm sure that you can find good 4-2-1s with mid captain, maybe even AD carry captain with Fnatic, and I'm interested in that for sure. I mean, Michael's right. That means that they're going to be very popular on the slate. But I also think it's weird that they're not favored in this game. Actually, I felt similarly about this one that I did to the Excel one. They just have better gold statistics all around than Rogue this split. But we'll see.
Yep.
Moving on from the LEC, we have the best league in the world. I think we can all agree. The LCS, we're going to start this one out with two of the perceived top teams this year, but maybe one of them not panning out how we all thought. We're starting with 100 Thieves, 16-5 on the summer versus C9, 11-10. Michael, we'll throw it over to you for this first one. 100 Thieves versus Cloud9. Who wins this matchup, and will you be using them for DFS?
So for me, the way that I read, yes, it has to be Cloud9. I think that they're still the better team long term. I like their talent more than 100 Thieves. I forget what happened last week. How did 100 Thieves do last week? Was it last week or the week before where they had 2 losses?
They had a loss to Dignitas, right? The night after I said the only 2 LCS teams I trust are
Evil Geniuses. 100 Thieves.
They both fucking lost.
Yeah, not only that, but did almost all the dogs outside of TL won on Friday.
That's right. Yeah.
This is your friendly reminder. Tomorrow is Friday.
Go watch Michael's video. Hilarious, by the way. Thank you for that.
Watch Michael's video. Disregard any thoughts about the favorites winning and the rest of this podcast for the LCS, and just play every combination of the dogs.
Yeah.
Which in fact,
Cloud9 is the dog.
Here.
Yeah. So I think for me, I think it's just Cloud9. I would pick a side. This is one of the spots where you have to pick a side, and I'm fine with that. So I would play C9. If you want to get into the minutia of the matchup, I think that Fudge and Someday are both very good players. I think that Someday at his peak was a better player than Fudge is right now, but I think that Fudge and Someday are very close now. It's going to come down to what the matchups look like for them. Blabber is a better player than Closer, period. I'm not going to argue that with anybody. That is just a fact. Perks is a better player than Abadage. That's a fact. I'm not arguing that one with anybody either. FBI is probably better than Sven now, I guess, because Sven has just not been playing that well this season. I think a lot of that has to do with what has happened to the AD carry meta, specifically in the last year or so. Like, I think the teams that were playing correctly were focused on their jungle and mid. 100 Thieves was never really focused on their jungle and mid. It was always about FBI and Huki because that was the strength of their team. So that's why I think FBI has looked much better than a lot of other AD carries for the past year or so. I just don't think that I don't think that's the case. Like in reality, like yes, if I put Sven on Ezreal and tell him, hey, you hang out in the bot lane, don't die, and he doesn't die, then he did his job. And if they win the game, then great. With FBI, it's like, okay, well, we need you to be the most important player on our team in the late game team fight, so we're going to give you a bunch of extra resources. We're going to gank your lane, and then you're going to go around and you're going to look like a superstar. And he's done that for the most part. So I'm okay with giving that one away. But then Vulcan is better than Huhi. Huhi has done a very good job transitioning from mid to support over the past few years. He's not Vulcan. Vulcan is the better player. And that's basically it.
All right. Moving on to you, Alan. 100 Thieves versus C9. What are you doing with this game?
I can sum up my thoughts in one or 3 words. I'm not sure. Yippee-yi-yo, baby. Yippee-yi-yo.
Yippee-yi-yo.
I looked at this game and right away I was like, 100 Thieves is winning this. They're 15-3. They have a better GSPD. We've got Cloud9 trolling every other game. And that's exactly why you should play Cloud9 tomorrow. Because I have a feeling a lot of people are going to think it that way. And like Cloud9 ends up at maybe 10 to 15%. And if you told me on any slate before Summer Split that we were going to get Cloud9 in a good matchup at like 10 to 15%, I would have been like, you need to slam every lineup with Cloud9 into it. But now that we've seen them troll week after week, I kind of I got a little nervous feeling about it. But you can't do that. This is the Cloud9 time. This is where they break all of our brains and dominate 100 Thieves after losing to Immortals in impossible fashion last week.
So it only took 1 week for Alan to switch from 100 Thieves and EG being the only favorites he likes. Interesting.
I think that the one thing that I'm probably the most focused on is that C9 has been increasingly bloody as the split has gone on, which is a good thing because that is how they're supposed to be playing the game. So it comes down to how is 100 Thieves going to respond. If they try to fight C9 in the early game, it is very possible that they win those early game skirmishes and then can turn it into a slow match. If C9 gets a small lead in the early game, they will continuously force the issue, and that's like the perfect storm for DFS purposes. This could even be a good game stack spot. So I think that I would consider game stacks. I would definitely play C9. And I'm probably not going to get any other exposure to 100 Thieves. I know that John would disagree with me on this one. So, take that for what it's worth. He's obviously very good at what he does, and he's a big believer in 100 Thieves. And I do like 100 Thieves in general, but I like C9 a lot more. So I have to be on this side. And I've been saying that a lot recently, where I have to be on a certain side because of how I view teams. And some people might look at it as a cop-out and be like, I don't want to give justifications for my reasons, but I think from the beginning I've been pretty transparent that I only really care about talent, and I just think that C9 is more talented overall, and that's why I need to play C9.
I would also add, since I caught a stray from Alan number 2 about switching on 100 Thieves. I like Cloud9 as a draft.
That wasn't a stray bullet. That was a bullet aimed at you.
as a DraftKings play, like I could go either way about which team's better. I think that obviously 100 Thieves has been better in the summer split. I think that this could easily be our LCS finals this year. But as far as like how are you going to win DraftKings tomorrow, I think the play is Cloud9's for sure.
Good clarification. Also to note, both of these teams are 2 win streaks right now, so something has to break. Moving down to our second game of the day, we have TSM 14-7 versus Evil Geniuses, also 14-7 on the summer. Alan, we'll throw it over to you. Evil Geniuses, you sticking with the favorite?
Are they the favorite in this game? I think that they started as the dog. I mean, I think it was like -120, -110 when I saw it. So I mean, that's basically an esports coin flip, as they say. What do you have? Do you have a different one?
I just assumed they were the favorite because of my terrible bias against TSM.
I have TSM -120, Evil Geniuses -106.
Yeah. So that
Hey, there we go.
that makes Evil Geniuses the yippee-yi-yo play of the day. I also like them in this game. I think if you go lane by lane, I actually think I might like Evil Geniuses more at this point. Like if we look at the Huni Impact matchup, I definitely prefer Impact there. If you go into the jungle, it gets a little murkier. Obviously, I think Spica's the better player than whoever Evil Geniuses ends up playing. Although I do think that like both of Evil Genius's junglers are pretty good at Diana, and that seems to be a pretty high priority pick for basically everyone right now. I do think that Evil Geniuses also has side selection in this game, so that makes me like them even a little bit more because, you know, if they decide to leave Diana open, then they get it. Go to mid lane. I think it's pretty close. Obviously, Power of Evil is a more consistent player than Jizuke, but I think that their like upside is pretty similar. And then the bot lane, I much prefer the Ignar and Danny side of the Lost and Sword Art matchup. So I think that Evil Geniuses had some real advantages here. I think that Evil Geniuses games are always kind of bloody. Obviously, TSM is the exact opposite, so it's gonna be a tough one to convince yourself is like the top play of the slate. But you know, if there's interesting combinations to be made with Cloud9 and Evil Geniuses, I think that makes a lot of sense. I probably end up with mostly Evil Geniuses in the 3 part of a 4-3 lineup. On this slate because the Golden Guardians CLG game exists, Immortals Dignitas exists. So this is probably a game that I get less exposure to, but if I was going to, it'd be Evil Geniuses for sure.
Moving on to you, Michael, with this one. TSM versus Evil Geniuses. What are you doing with this matchup DFS-wise?
Okay, so my brain says TSM wins and TSM wins like easily. But my heart says that Evil Geniuses wins. Danny goes insane. Reggie convinces himself, oh my god, Danny is the best player in North America right now. I must have him. And then TSM buys Danny in the offseason. I think that's probably the better soap opera angle. So that's my take on this game: is Evil Geniuses wins, and Danny becomes a TSM player next year. The reason why I thought about that is because Tim from Oracle's Elixir just said something like, "Should you buy or sell on the Golden Guardians and FlyQuest? Like, are they the future Titans of the LCS?" The answer is Evil Geniuses, or whichever team Danny is on. That will be the team that is the best in the LCS outside of imports coming in. Danny is the future of the LCS. I truly do believe that.
Yeah, I mean, like guys like Spica and Danny and those players that are like young North Americans that you could, you know, feel somewhat comfortable going into an international competition with, like those are the most valuable guys because they free you up to like buy impact players in your import slots.
Yeah.
Not impact the player, but impact players. Yeah.
If Vulcan was worth $3 million, Danny is worth probably twice as much money. Not in terms of like he's twice as good of a player as Vulcan, but I think that having that position specifically locked down with a really good young player, I think it's an incredible value to having something like that around. So unless Danny completely forgets how to play League of Legends, I think that there's going to be a huge amount of money paid for him in the offseason, and I think it's the right play.
Nice. Who are you playing in this game?
Evil Geniuses.
Yeah.
Because Danny's going to win the game, and then TSM will buy him. Think about it. TSM, what's their biggest problem right now? Their AD carry. You know who's a good AD carry? Danny. Go buy him. Use some of that crypto money and go buy Danny. That's what they have to do. They have to do it.
Danny will be rolling in all the cryptocurrency after being bought by TSM.
No, he'll be rolling around in United States dollars that were purchased in some way with the crypto money, exchanged for crypto money. Danny will not get the crypto money. Danny will get the money.
The money.
Straight cash homie.
All right, moving on to our third matchup for Friday. We have FlyQuest 7 and 14 on the summer versus Team Liquid 11 and 10. Going to be short and sweet with this one. Michael, would the new Flyboys be able to beat Team Liquid in this matchup?
Nope, Team Liquid all the way. Not even close. TL will rebound off of their loss against TSM. Team Liquid's a better team. I don't got time for FlyQuest.
All right, moving on to you, Alan. Michael has no time for FlyQuest. Do you have time for FlyQuest?
No time for FlyQuest here either. What kind of ownership are you comfortable with Team Liquid at?
On this kind of slate, they are very expensive. I would say upwards of 30%, but only if they have really good combinations with other teams. Like, this is going to be completely dependent on the team you're pairing Team Liquid with. Like, if there are a bunch of bad stacks, and then I'm forced to like go Team Liquid top captain for like big GPPs, then I'd probably want to stay away from it and hope that it's like a low percent outcome of FlyQuest not giving up a ton of kills. That would be the hope.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think that Team Liquid is probably pretty low owned for like a massive favorite on this slate, just because of their reputation and because of the pricing. And so looking to get Team Liquid with like the CLGs and the Golden Guardians of the world, I think makes a lot of sense. I would not get into like support captain Team Liquid kind of stuff.
So Tim responded. He said the odds EG sells Danny are approximately Sword Art's salary, meaning like millions to 1. I think he's completely wrong. Like, I'm gonna tag John in it and be like, what do you think the actual line should be? I want some action on this. because think about it. Like, yes, EG should not sell Danny because Danny's a good young player.
Yeah.
But if a TSM says, I'll buy him out for $5 million, $6 million, $10 million, at what point is EG just like, we can't turn that down? That's like 5 years of operating costs for our entire company. Let's just do that, and then we'll find somebody else to promote, and hopefully they're just as good.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Not should they sell Danny because Danny's a very valuable piece, but will they because there's like some team with a blank check?
I think they have a price, but I do think that like Evil Geniuses is relatively ambitious, like nearly as ambitious as TSM at this point, I think. So, yeah, I mean, if they offer them 7 million, I'm guessing they sell them, but I don't know. I would hate that so goddamn much. I hope it doesn't happen.
That's why it's gonna happen. That's why it's gonna happen.
I think if 100 Thieves or Cloud9 had Danny, I think it'd be sold. Maybe not as much for EG.
Why?
Just feel like 100 Thieves and C9 are kind of just going with what they have, or think they can find something different. Definitely C9 selling players off from Academy.
Yeah.
Basically their MO and trying out new people almost every year.
But I think that's why it's fundamentally different with like the LCS team, is because like you're willing to sell off those younger players because if they don't turn into anything, then you're fine. And if they do turn into something, you always have the opportunity to get them back on like a free agent salary. But when it's like a player that's already shown it at the pro level, they're a much more valuable commodity, because it's like if you take Danny and you put him on C9 right now, they're a better team than with his Ven, right? Or if you take him Maybe the FBI one is close, but like I think I would still prefer to have Danny over FBI. So if you think that Danny is the future of the region, and you're EG, and you're not one of the because that's where I could be wrong. If I'm wrong and EG are like one of the most financially stable organizations in the region, then they will not sell him. But I cannot imagine Evil Geniuses has anywhere near as much money as TSM or C9, right?
No, I mean they can't. Like investment wise, they definitely do not. There's not a chance.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I think somebody like Tim, maybe he just doesn't understand that angle of it, where it's like in any other sport, it's like, okay, if this was the Premier League and you have some kind of insane 17-year-old Portuguese player who's just dominating everyone, he will get purchased by one of the big clubs. It will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll do it for some stupid number that makes no sense to anybody. It's like, oh, $60 million for this kid who's played 4 games.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. I agree. They definitely have a price, but I would be surprised if it was sold.
All right, moving on to our fourth match, and this one's gonna give me a headache. Golden Guardians 9-12 versus CLG 5-16. If you haven't watched the CLG game from last week to end out everything, you need to go back and watch it. Just one of the most bizarre things I think I've ever seen in a League of Legends match, next to Renegades and Dignitas both dying to turrets and Rift Herald. Painting the picture, CLG had a 9,000 gold lead at 32 minutes and wouldn't take team fights and essentially lost the game 6-5. You have to go back and watch this game. So with all that in mind, and kind of the disarray we've all seen from Paul Belter on Twitter and all that kind of stuff, Alan, what will you be doing with Golden Guardians and CLG?
I think. All right, so here's the deal. I think that if you want to stay away from this game, don't play GPPs tomorrow. That's what I would say. Because I think after a game like that, CLG is going one of two ways. It's either they're going to die a billion times in this game, or they're going to kill someone a billion times in this game. I kind of lean towards the kill someone a billion times in this game. Like, if you really look at the talent of these two teams, I do think that CLG's is probably better. I mean, I think obviously Golden Guardians has an edge in the mid lane. Top lane's close. Jungle is close, I guess. So maybe I'm talking myself out of it slightly. But
sounds like it.
but like CLG is still like in a game like this where they're not going to be very owned and they have a really decent chance to win the game. I think it's a really good CLG spot. It feels really gross to say that because of what happened in that game. It was so depressing. Like watching the guys' faces after the game was just it was something else. But I feel like that every time that happens in the LCS, the team comes out and does something weird. Kind of like when CLG started doing the Vi compositions. I could totally see them have some weird composition tomorrow. They were already tweeting about like, we're gonna try and have as much fun towards the end of the season as we can, or have the best end of the season we can, or something like that. So I think that if I were gonna play like the large GPP, the $10 5K to first, like I would play mostly CLG lineups, and if they win, then you have a great day. If they lose, then you accept that you played CLG off of the most depressing loss I think I've ever seen in League of Legends.
All right, moving on to you, Michael, on this one. Golden Guardians versus CLG. It is Dog Friday. Will CLG win the game?
On a side note, I think that any team that uses fun as a part of their messaging in public needs to be fined for potential tampering. And I'm joking, but I'm also not joking. If you're going around talking about fun and then your team loses and looks like a bunch of idiots, then that's like diminishing the competitive integrity of the league. And I think that that's a big problem. Like, I'm half joking, but I'm also not, because it's one thing to be a shitty organization. It's another thing to be a meme. Like, if you're going to devolve into like a joke team, then you need to go away. You need to not be in charge of your organization anymore. Like, players shouldn't be allowed to say stuff like that. No one should be allowed to say stuff like that. Like, it really is just so annoying and cringy. Like, when any team does it, like, because it's not true. It's just like not true. Like, you can go into a game or a draft and say to yourself, like, oh, I don't really care. I'm just going to draft a fun team composition and have some fun. And then you start getting your ass kicked. And in the 3-minute mark, when you're down 4-0, you're like, oh my God, I hate League of Legends. This is the worst game ever. I always get feeders on my team. Why can't my coaches ever draft? And then it turns into like drama and people hate everyone. So like, you really just got to like stop doing that. Like, you don't see it in most other sports. Like, when teams are having fun, it's because they're playing well. It's like, oh man, we're on a 10-game win streak. We're just going out there and having fun because we're like handing everybody's asses to them every single game. It's just so much fun destroying them. That's fun. Fun isn't losing. Fun is never losing. Losing is never fun. Both. In regards to this matchup, I think that Licorice is better. I think that Broxa is better. I think Ablaze Olive is better. I think Stixay is better, and I think that the support is up in the air. I think if you put either one of those on the right team, they would look good. With that being said, in terms of like spotness, I think this is the better spot for CLG. We've gotten some good stuff out of Golden Guardians recently, and this is a low point for CLG in terms of everyone like thinking about them, because early on in the season, yes, they were playing like shit, but everybody believed in them. Now nobody believes in them, and they're playing like shit. This is when you want to get them at like 4 or 5% ownership. They'll probably be at or above that, just because of the matchup with Golden Guardians. But I think it's the better DraftKings play is the CLG side. I do think that Golden Guardians is more likely to win. I think that the money line is actually kind of off, like -140. I'm surprised it's not like -200. So I don't know what direction that should push me in, right? Like, that would make me think, oh, I should definitely play more Golden Guardians. But I think that the only reason why they didn't list it at -200 is because then they'd have to list CLG at like +160 or something like that, and they don't want to have CLG at +160 because they think they're a live dog. So I want Ablaze Olive to win another game. I want Licorice to win. I want Wild Turtle to lose, but I can't lie about it. I really do think CLG's in a good spot for DraftKings specifically, because like you said, they're either going to win by 1 million or lose by 1 million. So you play both sides and you move on with your life.
Something for the listeners, you know, if you're listening, you give us a shout out, get us a little bit more exposure. I'll play 100% of CLG tomorrow, and then you guys can just play the other side.
Ooh, ouch. I think I do think that like Golden Guardian, so it's gonna get some serious ownership tomorrow. Although their salaries aren't great, so maybe not. I guess. Let me see. What are their comparable salary? Yeah, never mind actually, because Golden Guardians, like, Stixay is what, is he the second most? Yeah, Stixay is the second highest salary tomorrow. Okay, maybe Golden Guardians ownership is lower than I'm thinking, and then I think you can open up both sides.
All right, moving on to our 5th and final game for Saturday. We have Immortals 10-11 on the summer split versus Dignitas 8-13. I feel like I know Michael's answer right out of the gate, but I'll still ask him due to my job. Who do you like in this matchup, Michael?
Well, this is actually the best revenge spot of all time. Dardoch is coming back with a vengeance to destroy Dignitas. You've never seen this before, but First Blood will not occur in the game. It will occur on the stage when Dardoch sprints across the stage during pick ban and starts punching players in the face. That is when First Blood will occur tomorrow. Love Immortals here as a winner. I think it'll be a very low-paced game in terms of kills. So I don't really want much of it for DraftKings purposes. I refuse to put Dignitas in my lineups. So it'll be Immortals as like a team slot, if anything. Like that could actually be a good spot. Like maybe it's like such a low kill game where they're afraid to fight each other. It's like 50 minutes into the game. There's like 5 total kills. Maybe it's one of those kinds of games. That'd be kind of fun to watch. Just kidding. Nobody wants to see that. So for me, it's Immortals. If you can find a sports book with first blood occurring during pick ban, you'll become a very rich person. And that's all I got for you on this one.
Moving over to you, Alan. Immortals versus Dignitas.
If the sports book offered that, I would be able to buy Danny. I'm just saying. I'm just telling you that much right now. If they posted a line on that, I was being like plus 100,000 because why would first blood occur on the stage? I would bet my life savings on it. Then I'd have enough money to buy Danny
as a friend.
No, buy him. And then I would also probably try to buy Dardoch, and then that would be the starting point of my LCS team.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, wasn't there a team that like started an amateur team and like got decently far in proving grounds with just basically no funding, and they were like pretending they were going to pay the players for a long period of time and then did not?
That was the team that Zazel was on.
Yeah, so you could just reach out to Danny right now. Let him know.
I would never do that to Danny. Don't even joke around about something like that. I would never do that to Danny.
Let him know that you have this large bet placed and that it's a guaranteed winner, and then wait for the sportsbook to pay you. It's a way.
I'm just can't wait. I hope we do this show long enough to where Danny somehow upsets Michael, and he's just
impossible.
So heartbroken.
Impossible.
Yeah, I have noticed Michael. He dies hard with people. Like Shadow is. That's his guy.
And I was right. That's the most important part of the fucking Shadow situation. Is I was right the whole time.
Yeah, I mean,
victory lap, me and Shadow. I'll buy him too. me, Danny, Shadow, and Dardoch. We're bringing it back. We're gonna take over the LCS.
9th best jungler in the LPL is just you gotta victory lap that when you can.
What do you mean 9th best jungler in the LPL? Why did you say that like that's a bad thing? That's incredible. Being the 9th best jungler in the LPL is that's amazing outcome.
I'm not sure why you would already want to start feuds with someone who's known to be toxic by bringing 2 junglers on the roster, but hey, I've never run a League of Legends team before.
Dardoch's a coach. What are you talking about? He's a coach now. He's Coach Dardoch.
Oh, you're going to have him as coach, not player. Okay.
Yeah, what do you think I'm some kind of crazy person?
So then what happens when Dardoch flames the shit out of Shadow and then they get into a fist fight?
That would never happen. Shadow's an amazing player.
Anyway, this game.
Next question.
Agreed. This game.
Question is Immortals versus Dignitas. Alan, bring us into this one.
Agreed. This game sucks. It's gonna be low scoring. I would probably play the Dignitas side just because of the Yippee-I-O angle.
How many Yippee-I-O plays of the day are you gonna give us?
All of them except FlyQuest. Don't do that one. But I think that the way that I would build my lineups is I would click on C9 and click on CLG, find like 3 to 4 lineups in there that I like with some different captains, run that through the optimizer, then, move on to your next Yippee-I-O. Put a little C9 and Dignitas out there. Put a little C9 and Evil Geniuses out there. Put a little Evil Geniuses and CLG out there. And get to barking. And I think that's how I build GPP tomorrow. If I was playing a cash lineup, holy shit, this is quite the slate. That is actually maybe the hardest cash slate I've ever seen. You gotta really believe in someone here, and I don't know how you would. Team Liquid, and then you shrug, I think.
It's TL, Golden Guardians, you're on that team captain slot, and you just pray.
I wouldn't do that. I will advise against that. But yeah, that's a woof. Maybe if you have strong feelings about any of these games, I would play all kinds of cash tomorrow, but I do not.
All right. Well, is there any other thoughts on the slate, LEC or LCS, you guys would like to get off your chest?
No, I think it's been covered. I think it's a
Alright.
CLG or bust on the LCS.
I will be throwing 100% CLG tomorrow. Ride or die with the ghost. Let's get it going. But I want to thank everyone for watching today. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like it and subscribe to the Esports Department YouTube channel. Also want to thank Michael and Alan for joining me today. You can find Michael at League of Items and Alan at Heffelda. And good luck on the slate. Let's go make some money.
Yeah.
I just posted a tweet about Dardoch getting first blood on stage. I tagged Dardoch, so our beautiful friendship begins today.
Good luck to the new established relationship between Michael and Dardoch.
Yeah, bon voyage.